edition of Nile Cruise coming to you live from Cairo with Yasser Abdel Hakim and Mahitab Al-Afandi. Hello, Yasser.
Hello, Mahitab. We've got a lot coming up in the next 1.5 hours because of the political events taking place in Egypt.
It's been quite a busy week.
Yes.
But very interesting and...
Elections was the issue these days. In the last couple of days, the results came up tonight, just an hour ago, and the runoff will be next Monday and Tuesday. So there's still coming up before we go into the second round and the third round.
Yes, and of course that's the first stage of the parliamentary elections, the first elections after the January 25th revolution, and that would be the main topic of this edition of Nile Cruise. But also we do have a social and cultural music segment, as always, in this edition of Nile Cruise.
And we start right away with our break, and then we'll be back with our first guest, who will be talking about the website, which has been the most famous website in Egypt last week, which includes all the names and the polling stations for everyone who is eligible to vote. So we're going to talk about this issue after the break.
شدوا حيلكوا يا مصراوية يلا همتكوا يا رجالة احنا قد المسؤولية يا ابن مصر يلا بينا خلي مصر فخورة بينا مهما نشقى ومهما نتعب حقها واجب علينا ايديك يلا في ايديا شدوا حيلكوا يا مصراوية شوفها أعلى وأكبر أصلها تستاهل أكتر كفاية لما بقول أنا مصري بعلى في نظر الكل وبكبر إيديك يلا في إيديا شدوا حيلكوا يا مصراوية يلا همتكوا يا رجالة إحنا قد المسؤولية مصر هي الإنسانية صاحية شايلة المسؤولية حضن دافي وشمس صافية مش شروق للمغرب ايديك يلا في ايديا شدوا حيلكوا يا مصراوية.
And you're still watching Nile Cruise, and as we said earlier, the parliamentary elections, the first stage of the parliamentary elections will be the main topic of our discussion in this edition, and would be starting off discussing the famous elections website, www.elections2011.eg, and that has been the website Egyptians have been talking about the past week, maybe the past few weeks. And we are very pleased to be joined here in the studio by Mr. Husam Raghib. He's the Program Director of the Government Services Development at the Ministry of Administrative Development, and he's one of the specialists who launched the Supreme Committee for Elections website, www.elections2011.eg. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Husam.
When was the preparation started? When did it start for this website?
Well, actually, it is. Let us get a little bit focused on the website at the end, because the website was the result of what has been done. We started actually in, I think, April, when the law for the participation of the political rights was out, and on its Article 5, it was saying that everybody can go to the election using their national ID. And starting from this moment, we found that we have in front of us a huge job to be done. If you can imagine that this number is over 50 million people who have this eligibility. And we had to deal with different government agencies to start collecting this data, starting from the CSO, which is, they have the national ID database. And we got this national ID database, and we were faced with our first problem, which is the addresses, because the addresses are written, I mean, in different ways. So we have some abbreviations, some acronyms, and all of that. Then we had to do sort of a data cleansing to try to get the data right first. And then validation, and then revalidation, and then listening to the people and seeing if something is wrong, and then getting back to it. This was actually one of the toughest part of the preparation. The other part was about the constituencies and the distribution of the police stations and the let's call them the localities and all this stuff. How to get this mapped on the map, because actually this wasn't there. So we needed to get all of this done, getting the data from CapMAS and starting to put this on the maps. And again, that was another step in the way. The third thing came that we needed to start putting the what we call them now, the polling stations, okay? Because each constituency has many polling stations. So we needed to put the polling stations on the maps again. And this is the third part that, again, was quite huge. I'm here talking about thousands of them. I mean, it's something like 15,000 or something like this, or even more. So we have 50 million people, and we have a number of constituencies that are endless, and the number of polling stations that are actually huge. Then came the part that was much more complicated, because we needed to link the people who have the right to vote to these polling stations, which was very, very, very tough to do. We used a lot of technology to get this done, and I have to admit here that the team of AMSAD that contributed to this huge job, that I believe that it is the biggest since the new millennium, not only in Egypt, I mean in the whole region. So these 20 people who worked on this, 20 plus or minus, have done a great job to reach this stage. At this stage, we wanted to think of how many Egyptians are going to really go and vote, and we thought that maybe 60 to 70% of these 50 million are going to go. And then came the other challenge, which is how are we going to let them know where to go, and their number in the list, and the number of the polling station, and the candidates, which is another story. So we thought of having multiple channels. Okay, the multiple channels started from the website, which is the first thing, and then the mobile. If you have heard, you definitely heard about this 5151, and some other websites, known websites like Mashroع, Ahram, all this, Google itself.
And mobile applications as well.
And then mobile applications, and we added the 140 for the directory to help people. And we have tremendous numbers coming from each channel of these. So we have something like 8 million inquiry on our website, and we had some 4.5 million messages through the 5151, and we had 1 million through the applications, whether on Android, iPhone, and all the other mobile applications. We have 30 of them, I guess. And we have something like, I guess, a couple of million on the 140, which is very interesting, actually, to have the number of SMS much bigger than the number of people using 140. But I mean, the change has happened, and the number of people going to the website.
This is the highest, actually.
Actually, yes.
Yeah.
And to have a website to be, I mean, viewed, the number of pages viewed were something like 28 million page view. And this is huge amount of pages. If you think about the issues that we had, because at the beginning we only had the whether you're eligible to vote or not, and then we added where you're going to vote, and then we added the candidates. And this came actually very late, because the Higher Commission of Elections kept accepting the challenges and the appeals till maybe few days before the election started.
And right now we can see the website that we're talking about, and it provides different services to the voters. It's not only locating the constituency or the polling station, it also has different services that
Yeah.
are provided.
Well, actually, it shows you the scope of the constituency, and it shows you the polling stations inside, and shows you the candidates. And we have a little video to tell people what to do exactly when to go there, and it gives you your number in the list, which if you have heard today the results, the results being announced, you will find that we have more than 8 million, maybe 8.5 million that have casted their votes. So casting votes with this huge number wouldn't have happened if these people wouldn't know their number in the list and the number of the candidate in the list. Because if you look at one of the ballots, you will find something like 200 nominee or candidate. So to find the name between 200, if you didn't know his or her number in the list, it's quite lengthy, it will eat up a lot of time. So people knowing their number in the list and the number of the candidates in the list and the number of their polling station made it really, really going fast.
But are there any other services that you're planning to provide, maybe in the next stages of the elections?
Well, actually, we will have, of course, the results. This is one of the things that we are going to make available, and we'll announce the places for the
Runoff?
yeah, turnaround. And also we will have whatever come to us to distribute to people from the High Commission of the Elections. But up till this moment, we are focusing on the second stage to get all the data ready for people to have. Right now, you can have your number in the list, and you can have the place where you're going to vote, but still the candidates we're still waiting for the final list.
It's the same place. If I went to vote in the first round and next Monday and Tuesday is the runoff, I go to the same place, or there will be a change in the place?
Well, actually, I'm not sure. So the right thing to do is to just check on the website or using the SMS, because I'm not sure whether it's going to change or not.
But I think one service that might be added, I'm not sure how feasible that will be adding the address of the polling station, because many of us were not aware where this school or where that station is.
Well, actually, it is there, and it's not only the address, it is the address and on the map, so you can get the address and get the map.
Actually, through Google Maps, it was not quite accurate, because my polling station was supposed to be in Medinat Nasr, and it turned out to be on Google Maps in Fayoum. So I kept ringing for half an hour.
Let me tell you, handling this amount of data is a huge operation.
Yes, definitely.
So and if you imagine that most of these polling stations and the whole centers were not on Google Map to start with, so having to put all these points on Google Maps, it is quite a job that nobody would have even imagined that it's going to be done. There will be some mistakes, and I always say that there will be some mistakes. And if the mistake is in the address, this is,
manageable. It was quite manageable.
It's manageable.
Yes, of course.
It's
But we're looking for perfection always.
We are definitely shooting for this. And actually, after having any data on the website, we are asking people to tell us, and we have this part where we get the feedback from people, and we have the call center to get feedback from people and try to fix it. Because at the end of the day, we need to reach something that we are going to be using forever. This is not something that is going to be used this time only. It is a great job that has been done that we can use for so many things afterward.
You said there are 20 people who were in charge of this project.
Yeah.
And how many were working under those 20 people to gather all this information?
Well,
or
actually,
was it provided through the computers anyway on the national numbers ID?
Well, 20 people from the team that has worked on these 4 stages that I mentioned were almost 20 people, and all of them worked in our ministry, and they've been working actually around the clock during those last 6 months. That's the whole team actually, which is
so they were the ones who
amazing.
gathered
They have, I mean, some counterparts in CSO, and they dealt with some people in CAPMAS and in the High Commission of Elections. But I mean, the people who were really doing the data cleansing and doing the mapping and the matching and the validation and then mapping again and matching again and waiting for the data to come from the High Commission of Elections and then put it in the database, linking the database together. Because at the end of the day, if it's not linked, then it means nothing. If you have a list of people and the list of places and the list of candidates that are not linked together, then it means nothing. So yes, there were 20 people, and they worked in a lot of enthusiasm because they felt that this is their role to make the biggest change that has ever happened in Egypt in the new millennium. And I believe that, I don't want to diminish any of the other things that has happened, but by far this is the greatest thing that has happened to us.
And you think it has contributed to the success of the first stage of the parliament?
I'm sure it did. I'm sure it did. Yeah.
So right now we're preparing for the second stage of the parliamentary elections. Are all the data available? So if a voter right now logs on and added their national ID, they'll have all the information that we had prior to the first stage of the parliamentary elections?
Yes, all data are there now, with the exception of the candidates. The list is not yet finalized by the High Commission of Elections, and it is all there through all the channels, actually. Mobile applications, 5151, the website, the other websites, 140, it's all over the place.
Okay, so all data right now is available.
Obviously, like you said, this project will be helpful on the long term in Egypt. It will be used in other issues. Where will it be used again? Do you know in what way it will help in the future?
Starting from the fact that now we have sort of a structured way that the addressees are put together, because at the beginning when we got the addressees, it was just written in all kinds of different formats. So now we have the number of the building, and then we have the street name, and cleansed and with no acronyms, because we have in Egypt we can say meme for square, and some other people write it me. Then it is always based on how you write it in the application. So now we have it structured. So the plan here is to get this back to the CSO and get all the new data in with the same format. Now, having the streets done this way, so it will help a lot in so many areas. If you look at the area of distribution for the postal authority, for the distribution of let's call the gas thing, and all kind of distribution now.
Supplies
for anything. The other part that is very interesting is that now we have the each constituency clear with all the police stations and all the localities underneath this part, and it is linked to the people in it. And this is, again, something that we've never had before. What we had before was just this pink thing that people have, some of them, I mean, very few people had. But now every person is linked to a certain constituency through the police station that he is or she is part of. You can use it actually in many other things, like in things for the, let's call it the...
other ministries?
All ministries, I mean the housing things. If you think about
taxes,
relocating,
police,
taxes, anything. If you think about relocating some people, now you have the addressees, and you have the addressees very well structured, and if you want to look into any area of Cairo or of any other places, then you will see this is exactly the number of people who are living in this area.
So will it be also later on added with people who were not eligible to vote but have their own IDs and everything, so you can have actually a whole process for the whole population or most of the population, which will help you in future?
Yeah, well, actually, currently we are in the phase of looking at what we have now, because it's a fortune now what we have, and we want to look at what can be done to make sure that this keep being updated from all different sources. Because if you look about the sources of data here, it's all the government. I mean, something would be coming from the courts, from the judiciary system, because you take away people who have some criminal records, and something coming from the police station, from the health ministry, because of the newborns and the death. So if we manage to to put together a mechanism, which we are planning to get all this data and to get this data updated on a periodical basis, hopefully if we manage to do it monthly, that will be perfect. Then we will have the best coherent, structured database that link all the people in the country with their police stations, which is something that is really, really outstanding.
Definitely. Mr. Hussam Raghab, Program Director of the Government Services Development at the Ministry of Administrative Development, we thank you so much for joining us, and we thank you for the great job that you have done, you and your team, in providing this very beneficial and very useful website to all Egyptians.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. We go now to an interview done with the new British ambassador to Egypt, and it was done by Nile International's Rani Al-Azabi. We'll be back with more on Binoculars.
In this historic period for Egypt and the region, as the process of transforming Egypt into a developed state can become a model for many other countries in the region,